Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Sabina. I'm a fair trade campaigner, educator and social entrepreneur. Today I'm recording this video because I have a torn ligament in my right shoulder and typing and writing is very painful. So I thought the easiest way to convey my message about supporting fair trade and World Fair Trade Month would be to send this video to the Sisterhood team. I hope you will support fair trade producers wherever you live. Thank you for watching. My fair trade journey started in 2008. I was recovering from an operation. It was Ramadan and I was reading the Quran, but I needed to alleviate my boredom. So what do you do when you're bored? You study Islamic banking and insurance. And yes, I did study Islamic banking and insurance. It was an online course accredited by the Institute of Islamic Banking and Insurance, London. And the last paragraph illustrated how Islam promotes equal distribution of wealth. When I read this sentence, I think I had an epiphany, a moment of clarity, and I think that was the life-changing sentence for me because it evoked such strong emotions within me that I had to take action. I then conducted research on the internet and found a paper called An Islamic Perspective on Fair Trade by Dr. Laura Thorpe-Vinson and Dr. Ijaz Ahmed Khan. When I read this paper, it just cemented all my beliefs that I needed to support people around the world, but I didn't know how. So I continued to conduct my research on the internet, and finally I came across a wonderful website called the World Fair Trade Organization. I was so overwhelmed with the work that they were doing that I had to write to them, and I did. I wrote to them and asked them if I could start a fair trade movement here in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and they said yes. And as they say, the rest is history. I established the Little Fair Trade Shop in 2008 and have met the most inspirational, talented and gifted fair trade producers. I'm going to give a very simple definition of what fair trade means to me. Fair trade means social and trade justice for all. But the Fair Trade Foundation in London, their definition is: fair trade is a simple way each one of us can make a difference through our everyday choices. It's about better prices, decent working conditions, local sustainability, and fair terms of trade for farmers and workers in the developing world. And fair trade aims to enable the poorest farmers and workers to improve their position and have more control over their lives. This is the fair trade mark. I'm sure many of you will recognize it. It's on a little chocolate. So the fair trade mark means that producers receive an additional fair trade premium. This is an extra amount of money that the farmers invest in their communities and it can be economic, social or environmental. But a minimum price is paid to farmers to cover their cost of production, and that's the guaranteed fair trade price. Then they receive the fair trade premium, which is the extra amount of money that they invest in their communities. So I'd just like to explain the definitions of social entrepreneur and organic. A lot of people ask me, what is a social entrepreneur? And a social entrepreneur is an individual who develops an innovative idea with the potential to solve a community problem. These individuals are willing to take on the risks and effort to create positive changes in society through their initiatives. And many people ask me, what is organic? So this is taken from the Soil Association's website in the UK. Organic basically means free from pesticides, free from artificial preservatives and additives, the highest standards of animal welfare, and no genetically modified ingredients. I hope I've cleared up those definitions for most people, and I'd like to talk to you about the world in my shopping basket. Here's my beautiful basket. It's hand woven by artisans in Ghana, and as you can see, it's absolutely gorgeous. I usually ask the children to take products out of my basket and tell me where they're from. And first of all, we look at a big poster. I'll try and show you the poster now. So this is my poster, and I usually ask the children to tell me where fair trade products come from, and usually they're very surprised to learn about new countries and new fair trade products. So the first product that I've got today is fair trade sugar, and this has been grown by farmers in Mauritius, and you can see the fair trade mark at the bottom. Then I have a football. This football has been hand stitched by ladies in Sialkot, Pakistan, and children get very excited when they see this football because they want to go out and play with it. So this is fair trade rubber, and it's been hand stitched by ladies in Sialkot. You can see the fair trade mark. This is divine fair trade cocoa, and this has been produced by farmers a farmers cooperative in Ghana, if you can see, called Kwapa Cocoa. And Kwapa Cocoa in Twi, which is their local language, means good cocoa farmers. And Pa 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 means the best of the best. I have a wonderful t-shirt with the divine chocolate, and you can see the message at the back. To love chocolate is human, to choose fair trade is divine. And yes, I do have some lovely dark fair trade chocolate. What I forgot to tell you was that this fair trade certified organic cotton t-shirt has been grown by farmers in India in a city or an area called Kantabanji. I love chocolate. I am a self-confessed chocoholic. As a fair trade campaigner, I thought it would be really interesting to learn about chocolate, where it comes from, and taste my way through the journey. So I began researching about chocolate, and the first book I read was The Story of Green and Blacks. And not many people know that the first fair trade chocolate bar was Maya Gold by Green and Blacks, and that was sold to supermarkets in 1994, and it was the first fair trade certified chocolate bar. And that's down to two entrepreneurs called Craig Sams and Josephine Fairley, who went to Belize and sourced the cocoa from the Toledo Cacao Growers Association. And the rest, as they say, is history, because Maya Gold was an instant success all over the world, all down to these two people. So if you get a chance, please read The Story of Green and Blacks. I also wanted to know about the cocoa supply chain, and I started to watch videos, and I came across this documentary called The Dark Side of Chocolate. This documentary documents a gentleman called Mickey Mastrati, who I met here in Dubai. He came to give a talk about the dark side of chocolate, and it illustrates his journey to the Ivory Coast, where he recorded children being trafficked onto buses from Mali to cocoa plantations in the Ivory Coast. These children were sold into slavery. They were physically abused, beaten, but they had to work in these cocoa plantations because they've been sold. There were a couple of organizations who saved and rehabilitated these children and took them back to their parents. But it was just it was an eye-opener for me as a chocoholic, because I didn't realize that in this day and age, children as young as 6 were being trafficked from Mali into the Ivory Coast to work in cocoa plantations in horrid conditions. They had injuries on their arms and legs from the machetes that they were using to cut down the cocoa pods. If you are a chocoholic, if you know somebody who's a chocoholic, please tell them to watch The Dark Side of Chocolate by Mickey Mastrati. After reading The Story of Green and Blacks and watching the documentary The Dark Side of Chocolate, I really wanted to make chocolate, but I wanted to make fair, ethical chocolate. And I knew that my friend Bruce Crowther, MBE, who is the ambassador and the founder of the International Fair Trade Towns movement, Garstown being the world's first fair trade town. Bruce is happy and passionate about making bean to bar chocolate. So while visiting the UK last year in November, I asked him if I could make bean to bar chocolate with him, and he said yes. So I spent a whole morning making chocolate from fresh cocoa beans, and it's an experience I will never forget. And I feel so happy that I knew where the cocoa was grown. It was grown by Frederick, who is a farmer with Kwapa Cocoa in Ghana. I bought the chocolate back with me to Dubai and distributed it to all my friends. Hopefully when I go back to the UK again, I will bring back more chocolate that Bruce has made, and maybe even send some to the Sisterhood team. Bruce Crowther is my mentor. He is a wonderful man, and he's been campaigning for fair trade for 30 plus years in the United Kingdom. And during my journey, this 8-year journey that I've had, promoting, educating and showcasing fair trade producers and their products, I am so grateful to him and to Rita Verity, another dear friend who lives in Haworth. Haworth is the first fair trade village. These two individuals have been fundamental in my learning about the fair trade movement. From one fair trade pioneer, or two fair trade pioneers, Rita and Bruce, I'd like to tell you about Edna Ruth Byler. I'd never heard about Edna Ruth Byler, but I recently read about her and I ordered a book in the trunk of Grandma's car. And it's about Edna Ruth Byler, a very humble and simple lady who lived in Pennsylvania, America, and she is considered the founder of the fair trade movement. And I'd like to share her story with you because as a female fair trade campaigner, it's always interesting to learn about other women in the fair trade field. So Edna Ruth Byler was a member of the Mennonite Christian group. The Mennonites are a Christian organization, about 500 years old, and they believe in a peaceful existence and serving others. And Edna Ruth Byler had never traveled on a plane, but she got on a plane with her husband Joe and she visited Puerto Rico in 1946. She visited an area called La Plata Valley, where she met two ladies called Olga and Mary. And Olga and Mary had established a sewing handicraft workshop and a shop. And from this centre, they sold hand-embroidered tablecloths, napkins, and cushion covers. And Edna was really surprised to see American soldiers who were stationed there during the Second World War. She was surprised that they took back the souvenirs and gifts from the shop for their wives and mothers. On her last day in the La Plata Valley, Mary asked Edna if she would like to support them. And she said, "Edna, would you like to take our products back with you to America?" Edna didn't know what to say, but she bought $5 worth of handicrafts, hand-embroidered products, and took them back to Pennsylvania. When she returned home, her church committee asked her to give a talk about her visit to Puerto Rico. I feel like I'm Edna Ruth Byler because when I give talks to women in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in Manchester, in London, I ask God to give me the courage and confidence to say the right words so that they will support fair trade. And Edna Ruth Byler was very nervous the night before she gave her talk. And she prayed to God and she said, "Please, God, help me so that I can say the right words so that the ladies will help and support me and buy these handicrafts." And they did. Once she told them the story, they all bought her products. And she started ordering more products from Puerto Rico. And she started selling them from the trunk of her car. We say car boot, in America they say trunk. And she became known as the needlework lady in her local area. And she established a reputation for traveling in her local area and selling these handicrafts and embroideries from the trunk of her car. In 1951, she traveled to India and Jordan, and she met more ladies who embroidered handicrafts, tablecloths, napkins, cushion covers, and brought their work back to Pennsylvania. And she drove from Pennsylvania to Colorado, and then she drove to Canada. So she was an exceptionally determined lady because she wanted to support all these women around the world. Later on, she established the Byler's gift shop. It was a very small gift shop with all the fair trade products that she'd procured from all over the world, and she sold them from her basement. Edna Ruth Byler died in 1972, but her aim and her mission, the churches in her area were very supportive of her work, and they started to sell the handicrafts and embroidery that she'd purchased. And her movement, her work became the 10,000 Villages, which is an amazing fair trade organization in the United States and Canada. Currently they have 70 shops in the US and 35 stores in Canada. So to read about Edna Ruth Byler is inspirational, and I hope that one day there will be many fair trade shops in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, in the GCC, in Southeast Asia, in Far East Asia, and I hope to duplicate her work. Because if you think you're just one woman and you're not going to make a difference, she thought exactly the same thing. And her quote is, "I'm just a woman trying to help other women." And that's what I'm trying to do as well. I'm just a woman and I'm trying to help other women around the world. And I'd like to leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you will share it with friends, like-minded individuals, educators and fair trade supporters.